First of all, I'd like to call the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer January 14th, 2020 meeting to order at 5:30. And in that same breath, Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District notice of public hearing pursuant to RSA 25, let's try that again. Pursuant to RSA 32:5, a public hearing will be held at the district office at 227 Old North Main Street on January 14th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. to discuss the 2020 proposed budget and 2020 water and sewer rates, signed the three commissioners, and this was in the Record Enterprise on the 9th and the Daily Sun on the 7th. So we leave that open until we close it, right? It doesn't have a minimum?
Nope.
Okay, so our two public, do you have any questions about our water and sewer budget and capital items for this year? Either of you.
Should we walk through first? Do you want to walk through it? Or?
Yeah.
Walk through it?
Yeah.
Did you grab handouts?
I did.
Awesome.
Was there more than just
The
the?
only handout they have is the agenda.
Yeah, they just
Oh.
have,
No, these.
Uh,
Do we want?
yeah,
Yes.
it's
Right.
these.
Hmm?
This is your handout.
This.
Right.
Yeah, that's what you have.
The agenda.
Oh,
no,
no, they
sorry.
don't have these.
Okay.
Okay, we'll wait until we can get you
Sorry.
those, and then we'll start.
We have the technology.
We have the technology.
Great, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so we'll start with our water budget. So this is an overview of 2019 compared to what we're hoping for 2020. The appropriations in 2019 was $1,324,000 and change, and we expended $1,203,000. Our operations were $883,000. Debt service 240, I'm rounding, and we transferred to capital reserve 200,000. We spent capital outlay 361,000 basically, but that was out of our capital reserve and grants. We're proposing for 2020 an appropriation of 1.2 million, which is approximately 100,000 less than last year's appropriation. Our operations budget is up by 1.09%, and that's basically due to upgrades in some costs and health insurance and a couple of other things like that. Our debt service is slightly down. We have a capital outlay that is in the budget, 40,000 for our GIS system, 30,000 for our meter replacement program, and 11,000 for computer upgrades, which we are in dire need. We are not transferring any money to capital reserve, and we have a capital outlay of $110,000 for 2 trucks that will be coming out of our capital reserve vehicle fund. We brought in almost 1.6 million. Revenues from water directly was 1.5 million, and revenue from other sources was about 85,000. Our water revenue estimates, we estimate to bring in about the same amount of money, 1.5 million plus 61,000 from trust funds and grants. The water rates will not change, go up or down. From this year to next year, they will stay flat. And that brings us to sewer. And our sewer appropriations, 1.8 million almost. We expended 1.6 million if I'm rounding. Our operations was 1.2 million. Debt service, 328,000. We transferred 200,000 to our capital reserve fund. And we had a capital outlay of 197,000 in capital reserve funds and or grants. We are asking again for about $100,000 less in appropriations this year over last year. Our operations are up very slightly. Debt service is going to be about the same. Capital outlay is 41,000, 11,000 for the sewer portion of the computers, and 30,000 for paving and fixing Hawthorne Street. We are not putting any money into capital reserve, and we have approximately $414,000 of capital outlay that will come out of our capital reserve funds. 50,000 in a automated polymer system so that we can have 24-hour dewatering. Right now, dewatering needs to be manned because you have to put the polymer into the system. $32,000 to insulate and heat the odor control building, and Jason, what is BioRem valves?
The BioRem is the odor control system.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the actual system itself. 70,000 for paving the wastewater treatment plant septage receiving area. We're totally upgrading our wastewater septage receiving, and we're doing that because we get revenue, which I'll explain in a minute. $100,000 for an automatic transfer switch replacement. $62,000 for primary and secondary clarifier bearings, a bar rack rehab, and clarifier scum trough gears. And if you've been to the plant or seen an overhead picture, those big open concrete rectangular what, troughs, I guess, big swimming pools, which you don't want to swim in.
Don't swim.
Have these bar rack kind of things that move across the surface to grab up floating objects that we don't want to pass down into the river, and we need bearings for the chains and all that stuff. $10,000 for the a bobcat mounted snowblower and a walk behind snowblower for the plant and out and around town to clean up various areas. And $90,000 for a pug mill. That pug mill, what is that put in where?
Mixes sludge with lime.
Okay, and that's from the lime silo.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So that's all the stuff that we need to work on to get things keep things moving and functioning the way they should. We received in revenue about 2.2 million. Only 1.7-ish million came from revenue. We get almost $500,000 from our septage receiving, which is part of the reason we're putting money into septage receiving, because it keeps people happy and coming back and giving us money. And our sewer estimates from revenue is about 1.8 million, which again is what it was this year. So we're expecting our revenue to be about the same, plus 11,000 from trust funds to compensate for the computer. And our sewer rates will also not change in 2020. So this will be on our website. Can we put this on our website? So we will have these 2 sheets of paper, not with my cryptic notes on them, so I remember what to tell people, but they will be on our website. And if you haven't been, we have a brand new more interactive website, and I can talk about that later. Any questions, gentlemen? Okay, here, yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Hi, do you want to introduce myself?
Yes, please.
I'm Jeff Farian, resident in town of Plymouth, and I manage several apartment buildings in Plymouth. A couple of questions. One, thank you for not increasing your rate for the year 2020. I guess a simple question to go backwards. The rate increase from 2018 to 2019.
Correct.
Do you know what the percentage, just roughly what the percentage increase was in that year? I mean, obviously our bills have gone up roughly. Do you know what that percentage?
Probably 40.
Yeah, it was about 40%.
Okay. So our bills went up 40% from 18 to 19. 19 will stay the same.
Right, 19 to 20 is gonna stay the
19
same.
and 20 will stay the same. So we went up 40% in a couple of years. And in our letter that got sent out to our bills and things we're hearing of what's going on, it was in our letter that there is going to be a new structure to our, how we are billed.
Correct.
And the reason I am here, and thank you for letting me be here, is, we're hearing the rumors about the billing structure is going to change for multifamilies, commercial,
Yeah,
things like
2021.
that, for 2021.
Okay,
So,
can I just stop that
Yep.
for, I don't want you to not talk about that, but we're trying to talk about, this is a hearing for our budget and stuff like that, and
Okay.
for this year, and I'm not shutting you up,
Yep.
honestly. We can segue into that,
Okay.
but do we have budget questions
For this year.
for this year?
okay.
Will the sewer charge for Holderness, West Holderness people who have their own wells that are connected to the sewer, those rates will stay the same
Yes,
as well? Are
nothing's
flat,
changing.
right? Okay.
Right. Correct, 2020, nothing's changing.
Nothing changes in
Nothing's changing.
2020,
Okay.
except your underwear.
No, hopefully. So hearing no other public questions, I can close the hearing, correct?
Yes, you can.
All right, they closed, good. Now we can finish, Jeff. Keep going, keep talking, go ahead.
That was, that was my primary question.
Okay.
Obviously, with a 40% increase in the bill,
Right.
buildings and everything.
Yep.
And then, and then obviously reading the newsletter and just hearing the rumors about the change, I just want to know how my bill's going to work. for
Okay,
all my- all
well,
the-
let's
all the
try
bills.
and I have lots of people here who can kick me and correct me, and I will ask Jason and Dawn for clarification. But the general idea is that we have been working with the same rate structure as long as I can remember. I've been on the board, this is year 19, I think. We were trying to figure that out anyway, a really long time. So the rate structure has been the same, and we have talked to many people, many different towns, to figure out how they do billing, big towns, little towns, and we're starting to come to the conclusion that we have a very interesting dynamic in the town as far as all the different types of users on our system. So we have the college, which is obviously a huge user of our system, and then we have the retirees on fixed incomes living in a single bedroom trailer that are getting billed exactly the same rate, even though they're putting different stresses on the system. And after talking with USRDA, DES, our engineers, and a whole bunch of other people, we have worked through a whole different rate structure in order to be more fair to the large users and the small users and all the users in between. Okay, so that was the initial reasoning for going about doing this whole change in how we're doing our billing. It is based partly on meter size. So Walmart has a bigger meter than your house does.
Probably.
Probably. Jason, is that true? Walmart has a bigger meter size than our house?
I'm not sure what your house has.
Probably.
All right, so we're gonna say probably. Thank you for all standing up for me, I appreciate it.
There's the bus.
Right? So, part of it is based on meter size. Part of it is going to be based on whether or not the building has a sprinkler system, because having a sprinkler system actually requires us to have more flow capacity in case of a fire, because we want to be able to put the fire out with your sprinkler system, or at least, help it so it doesn't get really bad. That puts an additional stress on the system.
Cost. Additional.
Yeah, but it's also additional stress, which leads to additional cost. One of the other determinations was whether it was a single family versus multifamily. business, nonprofit. I mean, we have a whole bunch of different layers to this whole structure. What we are in the process of doing, since this does not even go into effect until 2021, is we are working through basically a set of handouts that will have vocabulary words, definitions, how this is all going to work, where you're going to fit in on this new scale of things. The rates are going to be based on something called REUs, which
Residential equivalent units.
stands for residential equivalency units, which has to do with
All of those factors.
all of those factors kind of rolled into one. And like I said, we still need to wrap our hands around all of this. It's still in its infancy as we try to categorize things. So for example, we knew we had, single family units, we had multifamily units, and then we got into businesses. And it was like, okay, how do we clarify something like a Walmart compared to something like Rand's? They're both businesses, but they're obviously very different. So we're still trying to figure out, do we treat them differently? Do we put them in the same category? The university compared to the hospital. Do we treat them the same? Do we treat them differently? And again, it's based on single family, multifamily, size of meter, sprinkler system, if you're into food service or not into food service, because having food waste and grease and gunk go down the sewer system poses lots of nasty, gunky things down the line. So it puts additional stress on the system.
Can I ask what might be a dumb question, but
Probably not a dumb question.
what is a meter size? When you initially said meter size, I was picturing you were saying like a 2-inch line versus a 1-inch line.
You've got it exactly right.
So you're saying
Right.
So it's not the meter, it's like the
Yeah.
Me as well.
The pipe,
It-
the pipe
it-
size.
And it is
has
the
to be able to
meter.
read quicker.
Right, the meter size is actually different.
Okay.
Your house meter is probably this big.
Yeah.
1 inch.
Yeah, my house meter's about that big
That's so
around,
small, yeah.
right? But,
B and four would be 3/4.
right, and,
Standard meter size is about 3/4 by 5/8
Yeah.
inch. We do have several meters going up. Once you get into some of the larger buildings, we have 1 to 2 inch meters. Only the really large buildings, dormitories and things like that, have a 3 or a 4-inch meter. But I think that's what we're alluding to when we're
Right.
saying meter size. So
Yeah.
most standard residential and multifamily houses
or 3/4 or
and
1.
And smaller commercial facilities have a 3/4 or 1-inch meter in general. That's where a majority of our meters are.
And based on what you were saying, it kind of makes sense when you think about that, because the amount of water the dorm is using, think about all those students taking a shower at 8 a.m. in the morning to get to class. That water has to be able to flow and get out and get into all those showers, compared to you and your significant others and children who, yeah, you need that water, but it's not 20 million bedrooms, it's only 3. So, hence the different meter size, I
Add
guess.
something. One of the objectives of changing the whole rate structure is to take a long view at our revenue and set a revenue level that we feel like we can predict and keep. at-
Right.
Without having to do this year to year, we're taking a much longer view and trying to say, project outward so that we don't have surprises in the next 10
And
plus
we
years.
don't have 40%
Yes,
increases.
this is not something anybody wants, inclling those of us sitting here, to have.
Right, yeah, because
a
our
spike
bills
in-
all went up.
Well,
like yours.
what's important to note is we're also taking on about $12 million of new debt over the next 4 years for the infrastructure upgrade. And behind that is another 20 to 24 million over the next 15 or 18 years. So, it's an old system, and it's been, it served its purpose well, but it's starting to wear out. And so,
We need the money to
at some
fix it.
point, we were fortunate enough to hit the Rural Development Agency So we got about 40% of the current investment is going to be grant, in the form of grants. And we'll
Which
continue.
helps keep the rates
Yeah.
down, which is why we keep going after free money as much as we can.
So, but I think it's fair to tell you that, you know, there's nothing along the lines of 40% in the pipeline. That's one of the things we've looked at in terms of
Yeah, we don't want to do that
structuring
again.
these rates, as we started with where we are in 219 and tried to make sure that there was some sustainability in the system. And we'll be in the fall, I think we'll probably be in a position to meet with folks who are interested in specific rate groups.
We were
and explain to them.
Yeah, I think we were planning to sort of have like workshops to come in so we could explain everything and,
That'll be on the website.
definitely.
Yeah.
And there's a new thing on the website where you can sign up for notices and they'll shoot right back to your email, or we can text, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And once we get it nailed, we've actually talked with our consultant and the website folks about having a rate calculator on there,
So you can put in your,
which is,
Wonderful.
it's probably easier to say than it is to do today, because there are classifications of users, so there's gonna be a number of boxes. You have to tell the computer who you are and what your
What
user
parameters,
classification you are. But at some point, you'll be able to hopefully go on there and get at least a reasonable projection of what your use would look like, what your cost would look like.
and currently the way it looks, it's looking potentially, I'm saying that in big words, everybody, potentially, that single-family homes might see a slight reduction. And some of the other rate users might see a slight reduction and other rate users might see a slight increase, but it is not going to be anywhere near the 40% that we've seen last year.
But you're saying, so, the business owns a single-family home that falls in the category of something that might see an increase.
Say that again?
If a business, like an LLC, owns a single-family home, I mean, on Pleasant Street, across the street from each other,
It's not about the ownership, it's about the use.
Yeah,
Okay.
if it's a single meter,
Yeah,
but it's a single-family home,
yeah,
then it's billed as a single-family home.
We don't care who owns it.
If it's a multi-family unit,
yeah.
like Blueberry, no, does Blueberry have individual meters, or is it a single meter at Blueberry Hill?
For one per building.
Okay, but there's more than one unit in a
Are
building.
those apartments?
That would be considered a multi.
Right,
Yeah,
so they're,
Condo.
right,
Two or
they're,
three family house. would be
right,
different.
or a 2 or 3 family
Sure.
single house
Yeah,
that
yeah.
has 1 meter, but there's 3 different residential units
Right.
in that, all sharing that same meter.
Right.
So that's where that multifamily comes into play.
Madam Chair, may I add something
Yes,
to that?
please.
So that it'll
Clarify
also-
away.
It'll also play into what we spoke about, residential equivalent units.
Yeah.
So even if you are a single-family residence, single-family building, dwelling,
Oops.
and you're using 300 gallons per day, you would be assigned the equivalency of 3 residences, even though that's only a single-family residence, because of the usage at the building. So if you have a 3-bedroom house, but there's 3 kids per bedroom, let's say, in a rental situation, they may see that higher usage, even though you're only getting billed at the 3/4 inch meter rate. Your residential equivalent unit charges may increase based on the usage.
Yeah, generally a family,
That lends itself to the workshops.
right, yeah. And part, okay, so part of, okay, I can explain this a little better. Yeah, I think I can explain it a little better. So the state has guidelines of approximately how much a normal family would use per day in quantity of water. Okay, so let's say it's 100 gallons per day that a normal family living in I'm using the word normal, but a single family home, typical single family home. So parents and 3 kids, 100 or so gallons per day. You get into some of these rental properties, which I know that's your concern. So you have a single family home, but rather than one person being in each of the 3 bedrooms, you have 3 people being in each of the 3 bedrooms.
So that's a pretty rare situation.
I understand that.
In Plymouth. I mean,
I-
that was
oh,
common-
definitely.
That was common 25 years
Right,
ago.
and so, but, all right, so you're renting your single family home, you
Yeah.
have 3 occupants in that home.
Yeah,
But let's say those 3 occupants decide they really like showers and baths,
Sure.
and
they're not paying the bill, right?
right, their water usage is 300 gallons per day rather than 100 gallons per day. That shifts that single family home into a higher residential equivalency unit. So there's going to be 2 parts to your bill. One part of your bill is going to be the meter size. The other part is going to be how much water are you actually using. So the 3/4 meter is supposed to use approximately 100 gallons per day, but we've got my family, let's say, we'll blame my husband liking to take showers a lot, okay? And he's using 200 extra gallons of water a day. So all of a sudden, my house, rather than being in that single family 100 gallons per day category, I'm now in the single family 300 gallons per day. So it just slightly shifts the cost. It's not going to double your bill, but it's going to have a slight impact on your bill because we're now looking at exactly how the water is being used.
And so my question, just because as businesses, we look for fixed costs the same way
Of
that you're looking
course,
for fixed
definitely.
costs. So obviously, what kind of time frame are you looking over? Because we are in a business where we have lots of turnover.
We bill by
and-
quarter.
And so will you readjust the residential equivalency unit
Once
for
a
a
year.
specific property
Once a year.
once a year? So it'll be based on the previous year's occupants?
It's a rolling 3 years rolling 3-year average.
Rolling 3-year
Rolling
average.
3-year average.
Right.
That's the plan at the moment, but as I said, once we refine it, we're gonna put together an implementation manual. We'll have some hearings or workshops, work sessions with specific groups. I mean, some people care, some people don't.
Yeah.
So we've heard from multifamily property owners, and so we're expecting we would have some sessions with them. Other business classifications probably be interested in. So, we'll first go on the website with an explanation and then have an indication. You can sign up and come to a work session. If you can't figure it out based on what we put out on the website, then we'll have some drop-in sessions, or we'll have some sessions by appointment, so you can understand.
And we could look specifically at your accounts as
Right,
well.
yeah, because we can look at your bills,
We can look
And
at your history.
tell
and then
you
we can make some
approximately where we
forecasts
think you're
with
going to
you,
end up.
in terms of what's your past look like and how is that likely to translate into the future under the new rate.
One of my questions is, currently we pay, like a $9 charge for your meter every
Right,
quarter. So just the meter alone charge,
It's a replacement cost. That's
that's like
takes the
when your
cost
meter
of the
dies.
I'm saying, when 2,000, your new structure.
Right.
That's gonna happen. What happens at $9? Is there still gonna be like one
Yes.
meter charge
Yes.
that we have?
It's a
Whatever
replacement.
the size is, I understand
Right.
that. So you're still just gonna have one meter charge, no matter if I own a single-family house or I have a 6-unit apartment building?
If they're all sharing one meter,
If they're all sharing one meter?
that meter
uh,
charge is $9.
So I have one meter charge, I don't have
Correct.
any kind of.
We
Nope.
may, I'm
Meter
not sure
charge.
that's not gone to 12, but it's a
Yeah,
replacement
whatever that
cost.
meter charge is going to be.
I guess my bottom line question is, if I have a 6-unit apartment building, I'm not gonna have like 6 different apartment meter
Meters, no.
charges or something like that.
And one of the options we were discussing earlier was that you could, if you want, have a meter at each apartment. So that you would know at each apartment what the water usage is for each apartment, but that's gonna require plumbing and for us to come and put in a meter. That meter charge is in case your meter dies, we come and replace it and you don't get billed for
Yeah.
that new meter.
That makes sense.
That's what that's there for.
It sounds complicated, but when you just said that.
With help.
No, I was trying to read through it, it sounds complicated, but in the simpler picture.
I'm hoping that it's gonna
it's-
make more sense
But I will
as,
tell you as a board, as your board, is that there's confused, in our business, rental owners out there that don't get it.
yep,
And there's a lot of increases going on in the town,
Yep.
and there's a lot of vacancies for us.
right,
So it's not a pretty picture
Right.
in the rental world. So there's a lot of people that don't get it. And one of my
encourage
suggestions-
them to come
We did.
here.
Oh, we did. Believe me, we do. And, and one of my suggestions, and you said it, thank you, is, like, put that stuff on the website. Like, if I could plug in 35 Orange Street, and I can see what the bill's gonna be in 2021, or that
Yep.
senior citizen that you're talking about is on a fixed income in the trailer, they can punch it in.
Right, exactly.
I think that's really important from what we hear from the senior citizen to, to the
Yep.
homeowner.
I'm gonna throw Kim under the bus, if you don't know Kim.
I do.
She's our
very good.
our
at that.
office, lovely, wonderful person who can never leave here ever. But if you've got questions like that, she can actually do that for you right now.
She has. She's
So-
always answered my questions. She
Yeah.
has great candy. She's
They're keeping you.
Holding out on us.
It's always at the counter.
Yeah, there's always at the counter. We try to keep the bowl full. We used to put it out here for meetings. I kind of miss that.
So then the residential equivalency unit.
Yes.
Will there be a flat fee for, once you've like taken a building and say, based on usage, this is the equivalent of a 3
Right.
family? Is there a flat?
We're starting to get into a conversation that's gonna lead to somebody being unhappy because you said this and that's not. Let us put it out online, because it's.
I was gonna
there-
wait for the question.
Well, but it makes me nervous. There are moving parts to
Moving
this.
targets.
Right,
And so asking a
Sure,
specific
okay. Well,
question about a
in
specific
your
application.
line of thinking on January 14th or whatever it is, 2020, I mean,
Yeah.
are you picturing that there will be flat charges, so each REU will have a flat fee and then usage based on top of that, or are you picturing it just has a different rate?
no. So the way, from what I understand, and these guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not giving you numbers, like I'm not gonna tell you we think this REU is gonna be that amount of money and this REU is gonna be that amount of money. However, from what I understand, there's gonna be a fixed meter fee, so a 3/4, a 1, a 2, a 5, a 300, those are all gonna have their own charges. And then each REU is going to have a rate. And it's not a sliding scale. So, once you're in the REU 3, let's say, you're there for a year, and then we do another rolling average for the past 3 years, and that can adjust up or down depending on what is happening in that particular building for that year. Does that help? That's where it is
It's a
right
little
now.
more info,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
definitely-
and
it definitely
like Don said, it is definitely still, we're still trying to bang in those last few nails. And once they're in, then we'll have that nice worksheet, we'll hopefully get it up on the website, and then we want people to come and do workshops so we can really explain this. We have that nice new screen that we'll be able to show and share, hopefully. So that's where we're at. Does that help?
Thank you. Yeah, that's clearer for me,
Okay,
but thank you. And
good.
certainly look forward to the workshops and
Yeah.
and things online too.
Start renting out those houses to people other than college students.
We have.
Good,
All of us have.
excellent,
It's also
because,
hard in
Yes, it is.
Yes.
certain locations and certain
Right.
buildings.
right,
You wouldn't want to live underneath certain tenants, quite frankly,
Right.
and that goes.
no, I'm just thinking of, we have a whole bunch of young people in the area who work in local businesses full-time that don't have housing that's affordable. You know, they rent up at Tenny and end up having to rent with 6 other people because the rent up there is $3,000 a month, you know, so. Help out.
Everybody's looking for solutions.
Awesome.
On that note, have you broached this subject with Plymouth State University at all? Because I did see on one of your handouts that the institutional
Yep.
is, are you predicting higher impact or something like that? Have you talked to the administration?
Yes, we have been in conversation with as many people as we can be in conversation with, because they have to budget as well. So we're trying to give everyone a heads up, hey, when you're doing your budget for 2021, understand it's gonna be different. So, yes.
Okay.
We're trying to do due diligence. So that's where we're at.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Like
you
I
for-
said,
thanks
I
for
hope we
coming.
explained it well enough.
Yeah, that's definitely, like I said, clear for myself, and
Good.
what I was hearing and what I was
Yeah.
envisioning, so
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Yep. And so no changing of your meters, nothing's gonna be fake, it's all real numbers based on usage and stuff like that, so. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions on that? Awesome, okay, so, we need to vote on our budget, I believe, right? Action on our
Yes.
budget?
To
So,
approve the budget and
we
to
need-
prepare the warrant accordingly.
We need to make a motion, please.
Make a motion that we approve the budget that we have worked out and is in front of us.
Second that?
And this is for 2020,
Yes.
and all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion for minutes, please.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes from January 7th.
I'd second
All those in favor?
Aye.
that? Aye.
Aye. Payroll and manifests. Looks like we have 3 things. Nope, that's a capital thing. That's a purchase rec.
Is that the warrant you just signed? Is that the warrant you just signed?
It is, because we just,
Did you approve the warrant or
We did.
approve the budget? I didn't hear
Budget
the
and
warrant.
warrant
Did you have
articles?
the
Yeah, I
warrant
guess I
in-
should, yeah.
In the wording?
For clarification.
Just for clarification, I didn't hear warrant in the wording.
Yes,
let's re-motion that, please.
Yeah, I just
make a
don't.
motion that, I will I will make a motion that we approve both the 2020 budget and the warrant.
Second that?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we are signing
No.
that now. And we did the payroll and
I think
manifest.
they're doing December billings.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
Billings.
accounts
That's the fourth-
receivable.
I
That's
saw
your
the
fourth
warrant.
quarter
Yeah.
warrant.
That's accounts receivable.
Okay, I saw warrant on the top, and
Yeah,
I
that's your
Okay.
just
fourth-
wanted to make sure that the i's were dotted and the t's were crossed.
Stop causing trouble. will you?
Yes, I will.
Any other
When I'm done.
old business? Bob, I think you need that, right? Any other old business? You need that.
No, I have my copy. This is the one that has
Okay.
to stay with the file.
That goes with you too. District administrator items.
I have
Sir,
nothing.
awesome. Jason, do you have any reports or updates?
I just want to report that this morning I attended a hearing on PFAS regulations at the Energy and Natural Resources Committee at the State House. And there was the approval of a Senate bill in committee, which will now go to the House and full Senate, full House and full Senate for voting on PFAS limits at the DES's proposed levels.
Okay. Interesting.
It's about the most we can say.
That's
It'll
all we can
be-
say.
it'll be what it'll be,
Interesting.
and
We'll see what happens.
Respond accordingly.
And how are the
Work.
repairs
Yes.
of the RBC going?
RBC is going good. They're in day 2 today, so they got the gear, the RBC gear pulled off, and they are in the process of rebuilding the shaft.
Okay. And we have one purchase rec, is that it? Anything else, Jason?
I think that's for the RBC repair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
The RBC repair.
Okay, and it's, youch, $44,744. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion that we approve the repair of the RBC shaft.
I'd second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What are we gonna do? We need it.
We can't function without it.
It's not, we need it, we don't have a choice.
And any other public comment? Okay, we have another meeting on January 28th.
Yep.
And then our annual meeting will be Tuesday, March 17th at 6 PM. This is different.
A week later.
So going to be a week later than town meeting this year, and it will not be on a Thursday, it will be on a Tuesday. So that's what we've got. Anything else, anybody? All right, I call the meeting adjourned at 10 after
You know,
6.
that's St. Patrick's Day.